insane. I need a podcast to fill my brain. Movies and Task, Reddit, Minute of Sports, betting $1 and Joel the Game, Quora and questions from real listeners, all that and more on Joel the Podcast.
Bzzz. Hello, everybody. I'm Alex.
And I'm Alex. I was not ready for that.
And this is the podcast.
Joel.
Okay, you want to start over, or is this just it?
We never start over. I mean, it's just how it is.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's just the effort of this podcast.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to Joel the Podcast, everyone. We're here today, as always, 1 week after our previous episode, with episode 112 today. Honestly, just amazing that we've made it here. I'm just so grateful to everyone that supported us along the way, really.
Yeah, I don't even have a word for what it is, you know?
Yeah, I don't think that any word comes to mind as being able to describe this moment and this episode. So, really just an indescribable episode right here.
Absolutely, for sure.
No adjectives could be applied to it.
Exactly.
Yes, so welcome to episode 112. We're here in the fall of 2023, and we're recording an episode of our podcast, so welcome. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
I guess we should start with our sports minute. Is that what we start with here?
Sure.
And obviously, it's only been a week, but
yeah, no, for sure. Let's jump right in. I feel like we've got quite a bit of really, really nice sports news here. So
I think in the past, if I remember correctly, in the past 4 episodes, probably in at least 2 of them, we've gone over the 1 minute of sports. We've talked about other stuff in sports. So today we're going to try my best to limit myself to just the minute. So,
yeah, no follow-up comments or questions or anything. We're just gonna blaze right through this one.
All right, here we go. You ready?
Out of respect for the listener. I'm ready. Let's do this.
Here we go. So, the baseball playoffs are underway. Somehow, underdogs are winning almost all the series. The number 1 team in each league has been eliminated. Somehow, the Houston Astros, who cheated in 2017, are immune to this trend and have made it to the AL Championship Series for the 7th year in a row.
Do you think they're continuing to cheat?
At least not in the same way, I don't think, because everyone knows about it now.
It'd be pretty easy to catch them at this point.
Yes, so that's baseball. The NFL season has started. Currently, the only 2 undefeated teams are the Eagles and the 49ers. And Aaron Rodgers got injured in the first drive of he's a big player, and he got injured very early on. Baseball and football updates today. So yeah, thanks for listening to the Sports Minute, everyone.
I actually
do we have any emails? Oh, go ahead.
Well, I don't know if I should say this, but I thought of a basketball thing to talk about as we were approaching the end of the Sports Minute. Since we're outside the Sports Minute,
we're nothing if not men who break our word. But go on.
Our word is meaningless. No. I'll save it for next time, which is to say I will promptly forget in about 5 minutes, and this will never come up again.
Yes, you will not remember next time.
And
I'm sure all of our listeners will be upset.
Yeah, people will call me out on it, and that's when I'll remember, when somebody sends us an email, and then they'll be disappointed because it's a piece of meaningless basketball news to them. So
if someone wanted to send us an email, how would they do that?
Well, you could send us an email by going to our website, which is alexandalex@joelthepodcast.github.io/alexandalex@joelthepodcast.website/index.html. And you can click one of a select few links to generate an email to us.
It's been a while since I've been to our website. I'm going to go to it now and see if it still works.
That's a great idea. I check from time to time, which is to say, every once in a while when we're recording and we talk about the website. And it was up last time. Actually, while you're doing that, I have a fun story, which is, I guess I'm telling just to you because the story is from David, and he is the one that's going to be listening to this. So he just told this story to me. It's probably not going to be that interesting to him. Anyway, the point is, Shelby and I recently released our, I guess not released. We sent out save the dates for our wedding, which is coming up next summer. And you, Alex, and David, the listener, are both invited. So in receiving the save the dates, there was a link to a wedding website that Shelby and I had put together, and one of the pages on the wedding website is a photo gallery, which, among several other pages on the site, is just kind of this like under construction type thing that says coming soon. And David told me the other day that he clicked on the coming soon picture, which is just like something that I drew on my computer since we don't really have photos to upload yet. It's pretty mediocre in the style of many podcast type things. And he's like, I was half expecting this to like open a link to email the podcast, which is a hilarious joke that literally only you and David would understand. Otherwise I would do it. So, well, otherwise I would like to do it. I don't know if Shelby would be on board with that. Anyway, how's the website looking?
Well, it looks the same.
Perfect.
Good.
Great.
When I click on the mail to links, it just opens an empty Chrome tab or window. So I guess that part doesn't work because I don't have Gmail set up as default or whatever.
It should open up your like whatever email client you have configured.
Interesting. So I don't use a application mail client. I just use Gmail on my web browser. So It asked me like, I clicked on it and it said like, what do you want to open? Like, what app do you want to open? And I said Chrome, thinking that it would open Gmail, but it did not. And so I use Opera. When in my address bar, this is a obnoxious side tangent, I'm sure, if you're listening.
Perfect.
When I type mail to, and then I just put my own email address, just for simplicity's sake, it just opens Gmail, but does not like open a like new message.
Oh, it doesn't actually like
Chrome just doesn't
create the message for you.
Right.
Interesting.
Well, that happens in Chrome too.
I suppose
Chrome opens Gmail as well.
Even
if
it doesn't work for us, it clearly works for our listeners because we do have, I think
transition.
Not one but two emails.
Let's hear him.
This one
And by the way, just for the record, like you keep mentioning David as our listener, I'm pretty sure Danielle still listens to this podcast. So we like you too, Danielle. Sorry that you're not invited to Nathan's wedding.
Apologies for, not acknowledging all of our listener base. Maybe I would remember Danielle if she sent us emails more often. Don't want to call her out too hard because she's definitely sent us emails in the past. So anyway, our first email comes to us, as always, from Cephalopod Master. The subject line is "I'm a dumbass," so thank you for that. And Cephalopod Master says, "Why is broccoli so disgusting?" That's the question. This also says sent with Joel the Mail secure email. And Joel the Mail is a link, and I'm gonna turn my camera around so that you can see this webpage. I think Gmail might be kind of spoiling the joke for me here. Are you able to? I don't know if you're able to read that through the camera.
What the heck? Hold on, I have to open up my Skype window because right now I'm looking at you in this like really tiny window.
Okay, I'm gonna
That seems
click
to
on
say
this.
that it's okay. Click on it. Go for it.
Well, first of all,
I'm
I'm
never
getting
gonna
an
give you up,
ad.
but the lyrics are in alphabetical order.
I don't know if we're gonna get a copyright strike for this, but I'll hold the headphones up to the.
We for sure will. It's very funny to watch you do that because I can't hear it and you can't hear it, so we have no idea how it sounds on the recording. Maybe I can't even be heard trying to speak over this music.
I'm pretty. It looks like it's pretty quiet. Like it's not difficult to speak over this. That's probably enough of that. So we only made it to C, but that should give you an idea of what's going on there. Well done. I will go back and listen to that full thing after we record, so that you can say you've got me. Anyway, that's just one of
Okay,
two
and then
emails this
sorry,
week.
the question. Well, let's answer the question, which was why is broccoli so bad?
Why is
right?
broccoli so disgusting? Yeah, so why is it so disgusting? What do you think?
That's the way that God made it. It just tastes bad. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not meant to be good. Because if it was good, then it might encourage you to try eating other plants. Like if something that so clearly looks like a little bush was like an
Here's the
appealing
problem.
food,
Right.
you just
Go
eat
finish what
whatever,
you're saying,
right?
then I'll say my thing. Here's the problem. Broccoli is good for you, so you would think that like design-wise, it would be helpful if it tasted good.
Yeah.
And like there are other plant-looking things that also taste good.
Like what?
Well, actually, I don't know about that. I don't know. I guess lettuce is like okay, and that's just leaves.
Lettuce. We may have said this before on the podcast because this feels like an opinion that I've shared before, but lettuce is strictly a vehicle for salad dressing, right? Like, I'm never gonna
Yes.
eat just
Well,
lettuce.
even probably yes. I think lettuce can also be used as a vehicle for other things. Like you can make a salad that has like lettuce as kind of like the base, but like cheese and like other less healthy items.
Sure.
Lettuce by itself is like I guess very neutral to me. Like it's just like it doesn't really have much taste. And so it's not like bad. So I guess what other like I think about like other vegetables don't really look like plants, which I guess was kind of your point.
Yeah.
Besides lettuce and broccoli.
Here's another thing about broccoli. Let me tell you this about broccoli. Pretty much the only time that I eat broccoli is when I order Chinese food. They put in like 6 little bits of broccoli in with my chicken.
Like your fried rice? Okay.
And since it's in the tub with the chicken, it gets all covered in the sauce also.
Right.
So it effectively
like the sauce vehicle.
It tastes like the sauce, but it's still significantly worse than the chicken. Like it's the clear worst part of
It's also
that.
significantly healthier than the chicken.
That's I'm not really. Yeah, I don't think that's really up for debate though.
It's true, but if I'm ordering Chinese food, that's not my primary concern.
Yeah. I think it's not just a taste thing. It's texture as well. It's trying to be too many textures at once. It's got the little like frilly end bits, but then also just like the solid crunch of the stem. It just doesn't like it. It's too much, too many things.
I appreciate your analysis because I was really not able to put my finger on it. Besides, it tastes bad. It just does. I don't know why.
Yeah.
So,
No, I mean that's absolutely true
for,
too. Like it does just taste bad. I don't think anyone will argue.
And by the
about
way,
that.
like the other day, my mom made steamed broccoli, and like my mom is a great cook. I definitely appreciate her cooking, but like when you steam broccoli, it just brings the flavor out even more, and it's just like, ugh, ugh. Like you could just smell it and your dinner is ruined.
Yeah, steaming, in my opinion, is one of the least appealing food prep methods there is, and to do it to broccoli of all things, that's just doesn't matter how good of a cook you are. That's going to be a bummer.
Yes. All right, let's go on to the second email. I'm done talking about broccoli.
Yeah, good call. This next email actually comes to us from someone who has never emailed us before. Can you believe that? This email, the subject of this email is "I'm a dumbass," so it does come
Excellent.
from presumably a listener.
Excellent.
And the body of the email is, "Bet you thought I'd forget. Well, here's your promised one email within the next year. Sam, David's friend who slept on your couch that one time." So can confirm, David's friend, not David that we were just talking about, but the other David.
Right, the other David.
His friend, David and his friend
David
Sam.
L. from physics.
Yes, exactly. David and his friend Sam came and stayed on... And let me say this. This isn't just Sam that slept on my couch that one time. This is Sam that slept on, like, the small couch that one time.
Oh, I slept on that couch before, too.
Yeah, because so you know what that's like, because David was sleeping on the other couch. I think, anyway. I don't know why he would choose the small couch otherwise, but...
Yes.
Yeah, point is, thanks a lot, Sam. I didn't bet you thought I'd forget because... Wait, hold on. I didn't bet I thought you'd forget?
Did you just get here, son? I knew you knew I knew all along.
Let me just...
All along.
Let me just not try and use that phrase. I didn't think he would forget because I absolutely forgot. So I didn't think anything.
Right.
To be clear.
Right.
So yeah, thanks.
As usual.
Thanks a lot. I'm sure at some point during that weekend we talked about the podcast and how he could email us. So he
didn't... There's nothing in the email besides just him saying that he sent us an email.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I guess we appreciate the email. I don't know if you still listen, Sam, but if you do, send us another email. And, I don't know.
Anytime within the next year is good.
Give us, something to talk about besides just the fact that we got an email, which, by the way, is exciting. I'm not trying to say that that's, insignificant, but,
Let me just start off by saying, still
ask
fantastic.
us why broccoli is so bad.
Yeah. All right. Cool. That's the end of our emails. Let's get into it.
Great. Yes, so the topic of our episode today comes to us from one of Cephalopod's previous emails, I believe, in which he suggested this, that we would do this, and that this is the top 10 list, the top 10 types of clothing and accessories. Excuse me. And to be clear, we're talking, categories of clothing, articles of clothing, not, brands. So that'll be a whole nother video sometime, maybe in the future, probably not, but you never know. If you want to hear our top 10 clothing brands, send us an email.
Yeah, if we do this long enough, surely anything would be a topic, right?
I think that the rate at which we're putting out these podcast episodes pretty much ensures that we'll always have something different to talk about. We're never going to be we've talked about so many things. Let's go back to clothing brands, even though that's so similar to clothing types.
You're probably right there.
So, who knows? Maybe in the future we'll put them out. We'll get a lot of listeners, and we'll start putting out podcasts daily, and then you never know.
That's true. Once we get full-time job money, I could definitely see our production schedule becoming really packed.
Plus, we could hire other people to come up with ideas for us.
I don't know. I kind of feel like the ideas are the fun part. We could hire other people to edit and release.
Record the podcast for us.
To record for us. We'll just sit and come up with ideas. If we only came up with ideas, to be honest with you, I think the quality of the podcast would go down because a lot of our ideas are the type of thing that are funny to talk about but not to do, and we wouldn't filter those out so stringently if we weren't the ones that then had to do it.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and I think that even though you said like the fun part is to come up with the ideas, I think the fun part is actually to record the podcast. And coming up with the ideas is fun.
Yeah.
But I think that the main thing is what we're doing, and this is why we keep doing the podcast. I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, great, but I hate to break it to you, but we're just doing it because it's fun.
And speaking of fun...
That's why it's not that good.
That's why it's not that good. All right, well...
Speaking of fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and kick us off, right? We've explained the premise.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, we've sort of explained it. So let's, before we say what our number 10 is, we should talk about what is a piece of clothing, what is an accessory.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess piece of clothing is pretty simple, but like, what is an accessory? What is tell me your thoughts on what an accessory is.
Yeah, like it's got to be something you would wear, right? Or like that clearly complements your clothing in some way. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be like attached to you all the time. If you don't like, that's not a hard requirement, I would say. But most things probably will be. Like,
would you say it could be something that you could just like carry?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like
a purse.
Like imagine, I'm not saying this is like anything on the top 10 or anything like that, but imagine like a wallet or a purse or something like that. Like I would call that an accessory, right? Like anything that you can like impart some like style to, you know, like like potentially a choice you make about the way you conduct your business throughout the day could be an accessory.
Anything? Well, to me, there has to be like a visual medium to it, right? Like it can't just be like, it can't be like, I feel like the definition you just said, where it's just like anything that affects how you conduct your business. I feel like there has to be visual. Like your wallet or your purse is like something that, mostly your purse, but your wallet could be like something that's like visible. People see it, right? And it affects your overall appearance, especially purse if you're like carrying it around with you everywhere.
Yeah. No, that's
so that's kind of my thought is you have to be wearing it, or if you're carrying it, then it still has to be somehow like visually related to your appearance.
Yeah, that's a very good addition, very good point there. So in addition to being like, you know, something that is a component of your, you know, your outfit, appearance, style, you know, however you want to put that, it's a very much a visual thing. So, all right. All that being said, I think that's a pretty solid definition.
Yeah.
I don't think, you know, based on that we're going to have anything on this list that's particularly controversial. So let's go ahead and get kicked off here.
As always.
As always, right? Like, I mean, do I even
right,
need to
our
say
top
that?
10 lists are always ironclad.
Yeah, the objective truth. So sorry if you disagree, but this is how it is. Number 10, the number 10 article of clothing or accessory is 10 kilograms of 18 karat gold in the form of a very small chair. So this to me is, you know, very deserving of a spot on this list because, you know, you could carry it around. It's probably got some like spots where you could hold on to it pretty well. You could like wear it around your neck, you know, put it on a chain.
Like on a chain?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you really wanted to, you could like maybe strap it to your leg. I mean, that might be a little bit too fashion forward for some people out there, but you know, it's a possibility. Yeah.
So, obviously I have not looked into this at all, but I'm just curious if you have any information about like 10 kilograms of gold, like what size chair we're talking about here, because I don't know what the density of gold is. Like if I had to guess, I would guess like 19.3, you know, grams per cubic centimeter, but that's just a rough guess.
Yeah, so
and so I'm curious what size chair you think it would be.
For sure. I mean, just doing some like not even like math, but just kind of estimation based on your total estimate there. Like that's probably about 500 and some, like 518 maybe cubic centimeters of gold. Which, if you think about it, like if you take like a 5 centimeter by 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter block, that's basically what we're talking about here. Except that's like a solid block. So if you kind of stretch that out in a chair, I bet you're in the neighborhood of like, I don't know, 25 centimeter cube volume of like chair. I mean, if it was a stool, it's probably might not be as fashionable. I don't know if I would put it at number 10 on the list, but you could probably increase the size a little bit more even if you didn't worry about having a back to the chair.
Well, I mean, I think if you make it a stool, then it is not number 10 on this list. That would be my thought. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be far off, right? Because you would be gaining some size. But I mean, yeah, you're totally right. I guess to respect kind of the spirit of the top 10 list, we are talking about a back to the chair. Probably not a low rise back either, I would say.
Right. So let me ask you something. Would you say that if it was bigger, it would be better?
If it was bigger, so the thing with 18 karat, right, is it's a little bit more malleable than say like a 10 or a 14 karat, because you're closer to pure gold there. You don't have as much copper or silver or whatever to kind of like keep it from just bending when you sit on it. Like I don't think 18 karat gold is good furniture making material. Which is partially why, honestly, this belongs at number 10 on the list, is because there's no real, like, I don't know, intrinsic, like, furniture value to it, which is how I assign worth to lots of other things.
It's an accessory.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
So in that sense, bigger is only better up to the point where it becomes, like, disproportionately large to be hanging on your neck. So, like, if you imagine a full-size chair that you would have at your dinner table, I would say any more than like 125% the size of that becomes a little bit too big to wear around your neck, for example. The legs might start dragging on the ground.
Uh-huh. Did you sorry, I think I zoned out for a second. Did you say 110% the size of a normal chair?
120% actually, but yeah.
The size of a normal chair.
Exactly.
That would be way too heavy for you to walk or lift.
It's still 10 kilograms
hanging around your neck.
It's got to be a very thin. Well, it's like foil.
Okay. All right, got it.
So
I mostly was asking the size to ask, like, you specifically put 10 kilograms here, so I'm curious, like, what significance that number has, if any. Or it was just, like, a random number you wrote down.
I see, yeah. So, I mean, if you have fewer than 10 kilograms of gold in your accessories, I'm pretty sure everybody's going to look at that and think, like, I mean, he just couldn't afford 10 kilograms.
They're going to know you're poor.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to reflect poorly on you. On the flip side, if you're wearing more than 10 kilograms of gold... What?
Get it? Reflect poorly?
I do get it. I get it now.
I'm glad I interrupted that to point out that pun. Yeah, anyway,
thanks.
Go on.
Thanks. And if you have more than 10 kilograms of gold, especially 18K gold, I think that's just going to come off as like a little too flashy, Like I think we've all seen the guy who's like trying too hard on his appearance, and that's not top 10 material for accessories.
Right.
10 kilograms is definitely the sweet spot.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for clarifying that.
100%, yeah, for sure.
All right, should we move on?
Let's move on. And actually,
So we have as every all of our listeners know, we will always have honorable mentions during this list, and for this list, we'll keep it a surprise what we have, but we have 4 different interjections throughout the course of this top 10 list. And so because we have so many, we're actually going to go right from number 10 to our first honorable mention, which is going to be Nathan's. So tell us what your honorable mention here is.
Yeah, so my honorable mention is actually an article of clothing rather than accessory, and it is an authentic Great Depression era potato sack with arm and leg holes. And what I really love about this is the practicality and the it's very cheap, very cost effective, very rough. I don't know if you've ever actually worn a potato sack, but those things are definitely made for potatoes, not people. But just
So I actually have never worn a potato stack, but just out of curiosity, have you? Like, are you speaking from experience?
I'm speaking from theoretical experience, which is to say,
That's a term, theoretical experience. I'm so sorry. Go on.
so that's as an authority then on this matter.
A theoretical authority.
Theoretical authority on this matter. I would say that, and unless you're putting in some kind of like under layer underneath this, it's really like a rough fabric. Not comfortable to wear, but which is, of course, why it wouldn't make the top 10, but just the aesthetics of it beyond the comfort level, top tier in just about every way, right? Like,
right. Let me ask you, what vibe would you say you give off by wearing a Depression era potato sack with arm and leg holes? Like, what's the vibe you're going for?
I don't want to say bougie is the right word, so maybe I'll settle on fancy.
Mm-hmm. Fancy, I think that's the right word.
Yeah.
All right.
That's my honorable mention.
Anything else to say about that?
I don't think
good.
so. Let's move on.
Let's move on to number 9, which I will talk about. So I'm gonna say it, and I know as soon as I say it, everyone's gonna start yelling at me. And obviously, it's a podcast, so I can't hear you. But just hear me out, okay? And I'll explain it. So coming in at number 9, we have a flag. Now I know what you're thinking, Alex. A flag is not an article of clothing. You don't wear a flag unless you're in the Olympics and you just won something. Specifically a running competition usually. But
that's interesting.
That aside, I would agree with you that flags are generally not clothing or an accessory. However, you have to. I want to clarify. I'm not talking about a normal flag, like something that you would put on a flagpole. I'm actually talking about the flags that flag football players wear around their waist, so that, so that they can play flag football.
Yeah.
Which I think is just confusing that those are called flags, because they're not really like normal flags. Those things are
sounds kind of stupid.
Absolute. What was that?
Streamer football sounds kind of stupid. So
yeah, thin strip of fabric football. Yeah, it doesn't have
really
the same
flow.
ring to it. So yes, so we're talking about flags, but from flag football coming in at number 9. They're just very minimalist. There's a lot of different styles you can choose from. Like most flag football players just have a single color flag, which is fine, basic and fine, I guess. But as a fashion accessory, you can do almost whatever you want with those, and they can really complement the rest of your outfit.
So tell me this: if you had to pick one other piece of clothing to pair with flags, like in flag football, what would it be?
Well, no doubt. I mean, the most important thing to consider is the belt, right? The flags are attached to a belt that you wear around your waist.
Yeah.
And so the belt is definitely the most important piece of clothing to make sure you match with your flags. But the other thing that I would mention would be your pants or shorts or skirt or whatever you're wearing on your legs. And that's because that's what the flags are going to be hanging next to, right? The flags are typically worn around your waist and hang down your legs. So you also want to make sure that they are matching or complementing or drawing attention to that in some way, one way or another. So I would say number one, the belt. Number 2, the pants.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anything else?
By the way, what I wouldn't recommend wearing this with no pants. I would recommend wearing some form of pants. I know that someone might be thinking that that's really not the vibe you want with flag football flags.
It would look, I think, pretty unprofessional. if you weren't
Right.
wearing any sort of pants and just had the flags.
Sure. Yes.
Mhm.
So that's my recommendation.
Great.
All right, you want to move on back to number 8?
Yeah, number 8 coming in is another article of clothing, and it is actually Hawaiian shirts. So me
I like
personally,
Hawaiian shirts.
I like I like all kinds of Hawaiian shirts, but I think to really hit number 8 on the list, to really like deserve the spot here, I want to single out the
Right.
Hawaiian shirts that are actually like the most authentic ones that are actually made out of
Right.
pineapple.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
So when I went to Hawaii a couple years ago, like every store that sold Hawaiian shirts, they would have like one rack that's like, this is the Hawaiian shirts that are made in China.
yeah,
They would have one rack that these are the Hawaiian shirts made in Hawaii, and they would be like twice the price of the Chinese ones. And then they would have one rack, these are the Hawaiian shirts made of pineapples.
right.
Like the most authentic, and those were like obviously really expensive.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting a Hawaiian shirt that was made in China
Mm-hmm.
because I'm cheap, and I'm not super fashion forward, not super fashion aware.
Yeah.
So obviously what I had is not on the list, but I definitely saw a lot of people there wearing the pineapple ones. And I can totally see where you're coming from with this.
Yeah, I mean, I can just really appreciate when somebody is going through, not just like to acquire the shirt, but then to like maintain and, present themselves professionally in a pineapple Hawaiian shirt. That just shows you really, you're willing to go the extra mile for your appearance, and pretty respectable. To be honest, it's a real statement piece. Definitely belongs at number 8.
Do you have a Hawaiian shirt?
The closest thing I have to a Hawaiian shirt is not made of pineapples, but it has pictures of pineapples on it, which
I thought you. No, I didn't think you were gonna say, but I thought the closest thing that I have to a Hawaiian shirt is actually just like a pineapple.
Just a pineapple. That would have been a way better joke.
A pineapple with arm and leg holes.
It's like a 3-foot diameter pineapple that I've hollowed out. And
10 kilogram. Okay. So let me ask you. So your Hawaiian shirt obviously has pineapples on it.
Yeah.
I would guess that you would say that's probably the best pattern, but like what other things are like okay to have on, because there's lots of different patterns and things you can have on a Hawaiian shirt.
Sure. I'm a big fan of the Hawaiian shirts that have also like flamingo patterns is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that have like the leaves and kind of like the palm fronds and those kinds of patterns. Not my personal style, I would say, but totally, valid, respectable Hawaiian shirt patterns. There's the ones that are kind of more just like an abstract color palette, which has to me a similar vibe, but is maybe a little bit more, kind of playing it fast and loose with the concept. You may not even consider it a Hawaiian shirt at that point.
Sure.
And then there are the Hawaiian shirts that just say like Hawaii on the chest in, it's usually a white, white Hanes undershirt that someone's just written in like dry erase marker.
They
Hawaii.
ironed on like the letters.
They're probably spelled wrong too. It's like HAWAI,
Right.
and then it's just like
Hawaii.
That's why you got to get the real authentic ones where they spell it correctly.
Right.
That's why it's twice the price.
Spelling correctly with the apostrophe and everything.
Absolutely, and they might even use like the iron-on graphics instead of just like a pen.
Instead of just a marker, yeah. Okay, good. Thanks for the info. Sure. All right. So why don't right now we move on to our next honorable mention, which rather than actually having an honorable mention, you know what? Before I get into what we're gonna do here, can you go back and read the original email that led to us doing this episode? Because I think that there's some You would need to remember what was in that email in order to understand what we're talking about here.
Sure. So here we go. This email came to us just about 2 weeks ago from Cephalopod Master. It was at the end of quite a lengthy email. He says, lastly, I have a request for a future episode topic. It's been a while since you did a top 10 ranking video, and I would like to hear your thoughts on top 10 types of clothing and accessories. So here we are. You're welcome. However, he says, just to clarify, I mean types of clothing and not brands or something. For example, are jorts better than hats? Which is obviously true.
And to be clear, which is obviously true. He wrote that.
That's written in the email. That is, reading verbatim.
Okay. With that context, we would now like to bring in our joint dishonorable mention. This is not only something that we left off the top 10, but something that we would like to specifically mention as being bad, and that is jorts.
Yeah.
Jorts. I've never seen anyone that looked good in jorts. That's kind of the way that I would put it.
No, you're absolutely
whenever
right.
I see someone whenever I see someone in jorts, I'm just like, just wear like normal shorts. Like, I don't know why these are denim.
Yeah. So
what vibe do jorts give off to you?
Jorts give off like a like the sort of, I'm trying not to be really mean and like inappropriate, but maybe that should give you an idea of how I feel about jorts. It's really just like a the kind of person who like cares so little about their appearance that they're just like, here is a thing that covers my legs. It is functionally all I need. It's made of denim, so it'll be durable. I will never need to replace this thing. It's like the ultimate utilitarian, but in a bad way, pair of shorts.
So let me give you the closest that I have ever seen jorts to being good. Which should give some context as to. Let me just explain it, because I'm not going to explain it.
Okay, what?
Okay, sorry. Let me say what it is, because I'm not going to explain it well. So a few years ago, the Jacksonville Jaguars had a backup quarterback named Gart.
When you said that, this exact thing came to my mind, and I was going to say it when you were done. So, all right, go on, finish.
Yes.
I just needed to say that before you actually said it.
Jacksonville Jaguars had a backup quarterback named Gardner Minshew the third.
Yeah.
Which if a name gives you a vibe of what this person is like, hopefully it's the correct vibe, because this man was just totally chaotic.
Yeah.
He had like this like really what would be bad on most people, but I think he made it work, mustache.
Oh yeah.
Like a guy from the 90s basically. His name was Gardner Minshew.
I believe he had like
was on the Jacksonville Jaguars at the time. He had like shoulder length hair, and he wore jorts.
Yeah.
And for him, it was just like, this is just totally on brand for this man. He's just totally chaotic. He like is totally confident in who he is, but that might not necessarily be a good thing. But for him, he just did his thing.
Yeah.
And that's the vibe that jorts give off to me. It's like, I'm a chaotic person. And the problem is that most people who wear them are not chaotic people.
Yeah.
So.
No, I will 100% agree and endorse that one specific use of jorts. Yeah. I highly encourage you to try and find the picture. And
yes. So he was on the Eagles for a time.
I think he's on the Colts right now. I think he's starting because their other starter
their quarterback
was
got injured. Yeah. Man, sucks to be the Colts. You go from, I know we said we wouldn't talk about sports, but you go from Peyton Manning for like years and years, and then you get like freaking Andrew Luck for a while, and now they're finally like, after like 20, this is like their first time in like 25 years not having a good quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, dang, rip for them, but welcome to what it's like for everyone else, pretty much.
Yeah, well, at least you had those Manning years. if you're a Colts fan. Some people
All
never
right.
get it so good.
Why don't we go back to our list here? Yes. Go back to our list here and move back to the top 10 and go to number 7. And number 7 on the list is going to be my couch. Now, I know what you're thinking. How is a couch a piece of clothing or accessory? Well, basically, here's my thinking. When you sit on the couch, you're almost like part of the couch, right? Like the couch becomes part of like what is touching you. You're almost like wearing it, right? And so when you pick out a couch, like when you buy a couch, you really have to take into account like what are you going to look like sitting on this couch? Because almost certainly there's going to be a picture of you on that couch at some point, and like that definitely contributes to your overall appearance. So that's why
let me just jump in and say you have never in your life made more sense than you're making right now.
Right. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, just wanted to throw that in.
I was worried that I was just kind of like rambling and not making a lot of sense. So I appreciate that you kind of like stepped in and just like reassured me that everything I was saying was 100% correct and logical.
Yeah. I mean, we would expect nothing less, of course, but just to have that affirmation is always nice.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. And the reason it's number 7 is, I think pretty obvious. Like, it's super comfortable. And yeah, that's it.
Sure.
It's definitely the most comfortable item on this list. I will say that.
Yeah. There's a lot of things you can do with a couch, right? Like everybody thinks about sitting on the couch. You can lay on the couch.
Right. Very true.
Underappreciated, I think, is standing on the couch.
Really? Do you do that a lot?
I don't do it a lot, but when I do, it surprises me every time, you know? It's like I feel like I should be really unstable standing on like a cushion 3 feet in the air. But just every time it's not 3 feet in the air, actually. Let me just strike that one from the record.
You just have a really tall couch.
No, I mean, anybody who's seen my couch knows it is it's a real secondhand couch.
Let me ask you something. You haven't exactly explicitly stated what is good about standing on a couch.
Okay, yeah. So if I was unclear, when you're up there, you're just like at a height you rarely are in the world, and you would think that standing on the cushions, a mere 2 feet in the air, you would feel a little bit.
Just every time go up a mere 4 feet in the air.
It's just standing on the back of the couch. Actually, standing on the back of the couch is probably terrible, but standing on the cushions, here's what I'm talking about. Standing on the cushions of the couch, like where you would be sitting. Not only are you super tall, you are surprisingly stable, like you would think standing on such a cushiony thing, maybe it wouldn't be, but it is. And your feet have just never been so comfortable. It's like you're not putting any weight on your feet just because of the amount of cushion there, but you're upright. You're standing. It's what I imagine being in space is like. And that's a feeling that you can get just by standing on the couch.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so that's what's special about it to me.
Revolutionary for, I think, a lot of listeners.
Yeah, so if you're in a position to do so right now, go stand on a couch and just stand there for a few minutes. Maybe close your eyes, rock back and forth slightly. Just really imagine.
I think what I would recommend is like just trying different things. Like obviously you mentioned standing. It's like a newer thing that people probably wouldn't think about. But like try doing other things on your couch. Try cooking on your couch. Try, I don't know, what other things people do in their house. Eating on your couch, I guess, is probably not that out of the ordinary. But just try different things. Like if you're like about to do something in your house, just be like, "Can I do this on my couch?"
Yeah.
And then just try it and see if it's just as good as sitting or standing.
If you're feeling especially ambitious, do like a small gymnastics routine on your couch.
Sure, for sure. You can do your exercises like push-ups, sit-ups.
Yeah.
You can do that on a couch. I imagine that would make them a lot easier. because the couch is comfortable, and that would motivate you.
I find being comfortable is a real motivator for me to exercise.
I saw I saw your face when I said it would be easier, and you were just like, "What? Well, would it?" So I had to give my reason, obviously. All right, I think that we have talked enough about the couch.
Yeah, let's keep it rolling. Number 6 on the list. For those of you who know me, this one might not be a surprise, but number 6 is a watch. Now, I have 2 watches. They look very similar to each other. I wouldn't call them the ideal watch or anything, but let me...
Do you wear them both at the same time or just one?
So, I only ever wear one at a time. Well, I almost only ever wear one at a time. Sometimes when I'm going to a really fancy event, I'll put the other one on as well.
Good word, fancy, by the way.
Yeah, maybe a bougie event is what I was looking for. I don't know.
No. Fancy. Fancy's better.
Okay, cool. Yeah, both of them they're both analog watches. I know some people have like smart watches and things, which are, gaining popularity. Both of them have like a silver metal band, which, I mean, to be honest, I don't think this is the ideal watch, right? Like, I don't know that my watch necessarily is number 6 on the list. Like,
right. So let me just interject. I think I can see where you're going, but I just want to talk about about smartwatches, because I think it's an important category to talk about.
Sure.
So I have a smartwatch, and I recently bought a new watch because my previous watch was not functioning, and I was torn because like I have a digital watch, like an old digital watch, and that's kind of good, but I wanted a smartwatch, but like I really could not justify paying like $300, which is how much like the top of the line smartwatches nowadays cost. Like the amount that a smartwatch benefits me is not that much. So this one that I'm wearing right now that you can see but the listeners cannot is basically like a budget brand smartwatch.
and you would never really
I think
know.
smartwatches are right. Exactly. That's the thing. Like I think at least as a user of it, it's obvious that it's not as nice as like the Google Pixel Watch or whatever.
Sure.
But like just someone looking at it, like, yeah, you definitely wouldn't be able to tell. And I would say that smartwatches are good if you like having your steps counted. Mm-hmm. Really, exercise in general, it's kind of cool to have a smartwatch to be able to track that kind of stuff. But also like to being able to tell the weather just on your wrist and notifications. Those are kind of my 3. About to sneeze. Nope. Anyway, that was very real. That was not acting. Anyway, that's my thought on smartwatches. So, okay, I interrupted you. You were talking about like what's an ideal watch in your opinion.
No, it was a good interjection, because I realized looking at your watch too that I think you and I have kind of the same problem right now. I mean, I say it's a problem, but it's really just like it's not the ideal watch, I think, and you may agree with this.
Right, I would agree.
That and probably for a similar reason, which is that our watches are not gold watches, right? Which if you're talking number 6 on the list, you probably want it to be a gold watch, don't you think?
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, definitely gold watch. And just like as I'm thinking about it, like just an ideal amount of gold that I can think about is just like 10 kilograms of 18 karat gold. I think that if you're gonna have a gold watch, like why? I mean, earlier with the chair, you know what? Actually, I didn't even realize this was the same numbers that I just thought of in my head as the chair we were talking about earlier in number 10.
What a coincidence.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, but you talked about earlier like all the reasons why 10 kilograms is like the best, and I think all of those still apply for the watch.
Yeah, it's really hard to argue with that. It's kind of the perfect weight to show that you're serious about your fashion while not being too burdensome to have on your wrist all day.
Actually, by the way, I think 10 kilograms on your wrist would build up some arm strength.
Yeah.
I think that's another side benefit of having that too.
Yeah, some definite exercise benefits there to go along with the smartwatch benefits too. So, really really multifunctional there. I don't think anything else we've mentioned yet has been a real exercise catalyst. So there you go.
And just by comparison, I'm looking up the weight of the current Apple Watch, which weighs, according to this just quick Google search, 31.9 grams.
Wow.
So we're talking like about 2 orders of magnitude more heavier than your average smartwatch.
Hold on, you said 30 grams?
Yeah. So sorry. Yeah. So you're right. 3 orders of
Yeah, yeah.
magnitude.
So it'd be like wearing simultaneously like 300 Apple Watches.
Yes, roughly.
Think of how rich and yet tasteful you would look if you had 300
Yeah,
Apple
but
Watches
also,
on.
yeah, it's like wearing 300 Apple Watches, but it's way simpler and less clunky.
Exactly.
Like, like wearing 300 Apple Watches would be impossible. This is like, I want to wear 300 Apple Watches on my wrist,
Right.
but obviously that's practically impossible. So this is how you
Exactly.
do it.
Cool. Let's move on. Let's keep it going.
I think something about those 300 Apple Watches is going to be the title of this episode.
Sure. We can do that.
So, all right. Yes, let's move on. We're going to take another break in our list to bring out our third honorable mention, which this one will actually be an honorable mention. It'll be my honorable mention. And my honorable mention today is an accessory that I think I have never had, but I would really like to have someday, and that is the Supreme Brick. For those who don't know, there's a company called Supreme. They make clothing, but every now and then they will come out with just like a random object, and they will put the Supreme logo on it. And these objects are, like, fashion speaking, obviously gold. And when I say gold, I don't mean like literal gold, like we were just talking about. I'm talking about just like they're really good. Like you want to have them. And so a few years ago, Supreme put their logo on a brick and sold it. And they were pretty in demand. I think there was one or more that sold for like a couple $1,000
Wow.
online. And so this kind of goes along with your gold watch, right? Like, okay, first of all, if you're carrying around a brick as an accessory, it's gonna be noticeable, right? Like, it's not something that people are usually carrying around.
For sure.
So it'll stand out. The Supreme, obviously, you want to make sure you carry Supreme logo facing out, so that once people see that you have a Supreme logo brick, their opinion of you is just gonna like increase, like automatically, like a lot.
Yeah.
So not only is it a what's the word I'm looking for? Status symbol. It is also fashionable, assuming you pair it with the right outfit, right? Wearing a lot of like brick colored and styled clothing
Yeah.
to go along with it can really make this an excellent accessory.
Yeah.
And it's why making that my honorable mention.
Yeah, you make yourself look as rectangular as possible. That's definitely the way to go. And I was
thinking like you're like, you know, those printed like shirts where the entire thing is just like printed. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. There's like shirts, like, you know, most printed T-shirts, right, have like a image on the front or whatever.
Okay.
But there's shirts that like the entire, like every inch of the fabric is printed basically. And I'm thinking you just get like one of those, and the image is just brick texture. Like your clothing, it just looks like it's made of brick.
That'd be the ideal pairing, I think.
But I like making yourself as rectangular as possible. That's a good style suggestion.
Yeah. I just want to say before we move on from this one that I know at the beginning of the list we said that we weren't going to be talking about brands. We were going to be talking about like clothing types and accessories. But I think everyone can agree that Supreme kind of transcends that limitation, right?
Right. Like obviously a brick by itself is like not an accessory.
Right.
It's only in this specific instance of it being a Supreme brick that it is.
Right.
So I think that's the reason. Plus, Plus, by the way, this is just an honorable mention. It's not even on the main list.
Yeah. I just wanted. I knew we would get flooded with hate comments and emails if we didn't call that one out specifically. We very well still might, because our listeners are. I mean, you know what kind of people our listeners are, but I just wanted to try and get ahead of that one at least. All right.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So we're I guess counting the honorable mentions, I guess slightly more than halfway through the list. So let's keep it rolling.
Yeah, and we're by the way, we're at about an hour on our recording. So
yeah, right on target, right? Let's blaze through these top half. I mean, we'll give them the time they deserve, but we can go ahead with number 5.
Well, yeah. Well, we will give them the time they deserve. All right, let's move on to number 5. This one is a classic piece of clothing, and that is pants.
Yeah.
I don't really know that I have too much to add to that. Do you have anything to say about pants?
Pants really need no justification. They're pants. They're number 5.
Yeah, they kind of speak for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So that'll bring us right to number 4, which, of course, I mean, everybody's probably been waiting to hear this one. Am I right?
The classic.
The classic. Number 4 is the entire Earth.
Absolutely. And I obviously understand, but could you maybe explain for those who might not know, like, how is this an article of clothing or accessory?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Here's the best thing. And to be honest, this is how you know 1 through 3 are really great, is because the entire Earth is all the way down here at number 4. But the entire Earth is not only an accessory to any outfit you wear. It goes with anything. But it is also, in itself, also part of the clothing, right? Like, can you ever not be wearing the entire Earth? Just think about that. Think about that in silence for 10 seconds here with me. Sorry.
You couldn't even stay silent for 10 seconds.
That's ridiculous. I'm going to stretch that out in post.
Bro, you're blowing my...
30 seconds.
You're blowing my mind right now. This is crazy. You're absolutely right. You're always wearing the entire Earth. My life is forever changed.
Cool. I'm gonna. Why don't you introduce our next thing here, and I will be right back for reasons that will become immediately obvious.
Yes. Okay. So I mentioned earlier that we have 4 different honorable mentions this episode. We've already had mine and Nathan's, and we've had our dishonorable mention. So for our 4th honorable mention, which we're going to do now, before we get to our top 3, we're going to have a very, very special guest to give their honorable mention. And that person is going to be Shelby. Or you might remember her from previous times on our podcast as Alex, just like the 3rd one. So here she is. Welcome, Shelby.
Hi, thank you.
We're the listeners, I'm sure, are all excited to hear your honorable mentions. So why don't you tell us what it is?
Okay. My honorable mentions are tiny sunglasses with matching tiny purses, like celebrities were really into some time ago. There's a great picture of Lizzo on a red carpet somewhere with a tiny purse. It's pretty nice. It's fun. Makes me think of like the Polly Pocket or like little Barbie accessories, which I always thought were great. It's a vibe. So, yeah.
That's a good answer. What would you say is like the number one like best thing about wearing tiny sunglasses / having a tiny purse?
I guess it's so impractical that it's like purely just for fun. There really is no benefit to it. So it's just everybody knows that it's just for the aesthetic.
Every time I wear tiny sunglasses, I always like how I feel really big. Because I just pretend they're normal sunglasses.
That's a
Yeah.
good point. And, as a short person, that's something that's really important to me.
Yeah.
My favorite thing, well, actually, this isn't my favorite thing. This is like something that I've seen mostly women say that they like about carrying around a tiny purse is that it allows them to still complain about having small pockets. Like they can still be like, wow, my pockets are so small. Why do men have such big pockets? And their purse is small enough that it like doesn't even affect that. So
Yeah, I mean, I feel
I think that's another positive
I
aspect.
feel like one could argue that no matter whether you have a purse or not, you could always be complaining that men's pockets
That is a good
are
point.
larger.
That's very innovative. You know what? This is why we bring Shelby onto the podcast.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Shelby. Let's all give a round of applause.
Yeah.
Shelby, just know that thousands of listeners around the world at different times and places from each other are all applauding you right now.
It's a wonderful, wonderful feeling. Thank you.
It's a feeling we have constantly. It's why we do this. Just all right. Well, thanks, Shelby, for sharing your honorable mention with us.
Yeah.
We'll see you later.
Yeah. I hope you guys have fun with the rest of the podcast.
We always do.
Thank you. All right. Excellent. What a treat to have Shelby on the podcast.
I really wish there was a
we'll
word
just
for
keep
that, an adjective, you know?
I think fancy,
Fancy.
is probably the word you're thinking of.
No, you're absolutely right. I don't know what I was thinking.
What a fancy
What a
moment we
fancy
just
moment.
had. An indescribable fancy moment. All right, let's move on to the top three. And by the way, I think that anyone listening to this will agree with these three as the top three. I mean, maybe you'll have like one of them, like two of them swapped or whatever,
Yeah.
but I don't think there's much debate about what the top three types of clothing are. So we'll just jump right in with number 3, which is air. Now, we've already talked about how a couch or how the world are kind of things that you wear, but I think that air is undisputably something that you wear. I mean, like it's constantly surrounding your entire body, even when you're wearing other clothes, like a shirt. Like there's air in between your shirt and your body in many places. So no doubt that air is a piece of clothing. And okay, first of all, it's free. It's invisible. It's super lightweight. Like how many pieces of your clothing are invisible besides air? Probably 0, right? So that's pretty awesome. We need it to live. So that's pretty great that we can. I mean, if you don't have this piece of clothing, you die. Like, definitely that is better than anything else on the list in those terms.
Yeah, name one other piece of clothing that if you take it off, you die.
Well, I guess the entire Earth would fall into that category too. But this is
fair.
better than the entire Earth.
It is better because the entire Earth is not
Very
invisible.
close though. The entire Earth was 4. Yes.
No, I like your reason.
Entire Earth was 4. This is number 3. But yeah, the invisibility is key. Any other comments about the air?
No, I think you really nailed that it's free. It's everywhere too. Like you don't have to pack it. You just go from place to place. You still have air. It's a real winner.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, you wanna hit us with number 2?
Number 2. I'm just gonna say it. Number 2 is hats.
Thank you for just saying it and not beating around the bush at all.
We've certainly done enough of that, haven't we? So,
what are I mean, obviously the reason that hats is here as a category is because all hats are great for the most part. What are some top categories of hats in your types of hats in your opinion?
but let me tell you, that could be an entire other podcast that we will absolutely never do. But the best hat, in my opinion, like if you had to have one hat and one hat only, would be like those like pointy hats with the really wide brim. Like you might think of it as like a witch's hat or whatever. But if you get them in different colors, like if you get them in like if you have a blue hat like that or like a green hat like that, you know, it's the best possible hat because it keeps the sun off. That's like mostly what you want that big brim for, right? But yet you also have on the top of your head a large point to use as a potential method of self-defense, which is the other thing I always look for.
That's smart. So most like witches hats that I've seen are not like it's just fabric, right? The pointy part. Yeah. So like you wouldn't really be able to use it for self-defense. So are you referring to one that would be more solid?
Usually, yeah. I mean, like you could if you had like a rigid structure inside, like that could help, even if it was still a fabric hat. If your head happens to just come to a point at the top, then I guess you don't really need this hat at all, but just wanted to toss that out there as an idea. You could make it out of metal. You could make it out of wood. Really, there's lots of different things you could do with this hat, and it's a very, very personal choice, and that's why I think it's number one. Second category of hat, I want to put this one in there real quick, is sombreros, in particular the ones that are made out of like tortilla that have salsa in them. You know what I'm talking about?
The ones that you like, they're made of like when you say tortilla, you mean like
a tortilla chip. Sorry, yeah.
Like hard.
Yeah.
And you just break off a piece, dip it in the salt. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I mean, those are particularly great, but any sombrero, really.
This is a very minor side tangent, but I recently started learning Spanish, and I found out that the Spanish word sombrero just means hat.
Yeah.
I never knew that before. Like I think a lot of people know that, and I never knew that. And it's just like, why do we call this hat a sombrero? It just means hat. And the same thing with fiesta. It just means party anyway.
Yeah.
So that one I did know just meant party, but yeah, the sombrero is anyway. So, so number 2 hats. I think that I'll throw in for me like my number 1 type of hat, cowboy hat.
It's a good one.
I think that cowboy hats are kind of like often associated with a specific style of look. Have you ever seen Community?
Yes.
So for those, so like the way that Jeff from Community would like just create a costume by wearing like a flannel and putting a cowboy hat on, that's like what cowboy hats are good for. Like they're a vibe beyond just like a cowboy. Like it can be just a casual thing too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right. Ready for number 1?
Hit me.
Number 1, best article of clothing or accessory, hands down, better than everything else that we have said, is a gold ingot. We've beat around the bush, right? We started with the chair, we moved on to the watch, and here we are. We're done playing games. Just carry around a piece of gold in the form of an ingot. It has all the status stuff we talked about, but plus everyone who sees you will know, like, oh, he's not messing around. He's not trying to hide anything. He's not trying to be subtle. He's literally just carrying around a gold ingot to show that he's better than we are.
Absolutely.
And guess what? If you carry around a gold ingot, people will know that you're better than they are.
It's just a fact at that point. Like, a gold watch is a status symbol, right? A gold ingot is a status. It just confers that onto you. You are better when you have...
Right. It's like a gold chair is just unique enough that it's like, oh, that's weird, a gold chair. Gold watch is like the opposite, right? It's subtle. Right. Like, you almost wouldn't notice it at first if you like, oh, is that... Like, you would be like, you probably think of, like a gold colored watch instead of a watch made of gold if you saw it at first. Here, it's just like, there's no subtlety. It's not going to blow you away, right? It's just a fact. Oh, this person is just better than me. Do you have any thoughts about, like, what size this gold ingot should be?
Really, no. I mean, gold is gold, right? Like, I don't want to get too picky about
Right.
it. Like, you could talk about, the purity, the weight, any kind of stuff like that. Like, that's
Right.
to be honest, that's a little bit gauche to even care about those kinds of
I
details.
was going to use the exact
You
same
know?
word.
Like,
That's too
Yeah.
gauche. Yes. I think that you're absolutely right. If you are carrying around a gold ingot and you even know how many kilograms or what carat, like how much carat gold it is, then, I mean, what are you even doing, bro? Just carry around your gold ingot, be better than everyone, and yeah, that's the end of
Yeah.
our list.
wow. Anything in hindsight that we wanted to mention? I don't know.
Anything in hindsight we wanted to mention? I think it's very funny that well, no, I don't think it's very funny. No, I don't even want to mention that. I think that we had a good episode. I mean, we had Shelby on this episode, and she said that tiny sunglasses and tiny purses
Yeah.
are the best. So, I mean, what else do you need to know? Go give this episode 5 stars on TripAdvisor.
Yeah, here's my closing thought. All I wanted to mention, we really nailed it. We did a great job. So we applauded Shelby. Let's go ahead and applaud ourselves as well a little bit here. And
Right, and obviously, like, we're applauding right now, but it's just to represent, because all of our listeners are obviously applauding, and we're just, like, doing it because, obviously, they're applauding after this podcast has been recorded, and they can't contribute to it.
Right.
So our applause simply represents your applause. We're not actually being douchebags and applauding ourselves.
it's purely symbolic.
I mean, we would do that, but that's not what we're doing right now.
Great.
All right. Well, I think that's kind of it. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you have any thoughts about this episode, feel free to visit our website so that you can email them to us. Just a reminder, our website is alexandalex@joelthepodcast.github.io/alexandalex@joelthepodcast.website/index.html. I just recently visited that website today, so I know how easy it is to type into your web browser. So you have no excuse. Go do it. And hopefully we will hear from all 2 of our regular listeners before the next
That'd
episode.
be incredible.
Indeed. All right. Anything else?
I feel like there should be an Olive Garden quote here in the middle of this Olive Garden. That's a poor excuse of an Olive Garden quote, and I feel bad, but we're going to end the episode anyway. Here in the middle of this Olive Garden.
Thanks for listening,
Gotcha.
everybody. If you're still listening, hour and 17 minutes. What?
Never mind. Keep going.
Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm Alex,
I'm Alex.
and this has been
Joel.